On April 21, 2026, Britain's High Court dismissed a legal challenge against live facial recognition. The ruling cleared the path for the Metropolitan Police to roll out the tracking technology across England and Wales. The government moved immediately, committing over £26 million to increase mobile surveillance units from 10 to 50 nationwide. But the courts couldn't stop the public backlash. Activists pointed to Sean Thompson, an anti-knife crime campaigner who produced his passport and bank cards, but was still detained and threatened with arrest after the algorithm wrongly identified him. While Britain fights loudly over the limits of this technology, the exact same surveillance architecture is currently being constructed thousands of miles away, in South Africa. There are no loud courtroom battles or parliamentary motions in Pretoria. The physical components required to track citizens in public spaces are being installed piece by piece, without anyone asking the public if they actually consent to it. South Africa is currently operating a surveillance infrastructure that has moved well beyond the pilot phase, monitoring public and private life in real time through a grid that is already live and expanding. The first pillar of this grid already blankets the economic capital. Thousands of cameras operated by Vumacam's Safe City network run continuous coverage across Johannesburg. These private cameras feed directly into local law enforcement. Control room operators, aerial drone units, and metro police officers coordinate in real time, combining visual feeds and license plate recognition to track and apprehend suspects. The second pillar connects to your identity. Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber is actively embedding facial recognition into the country's financial core. By the middle of 2026, citizens will verify their identities remotely using facial recognition linked to the National Population Register at 300 Capitec branches, scaling to 1,000 branches by 2029. The third pillar locks down physical movement. Facial recognition is now expanding to serve as the primary screening method at all major land ports of entry and international airports. When mapped together, these isolated points, CCTV, banking outs, and border gates, feed into a single digital ID matrix anchored by the National Revenue Service. This expanding network forms a coordinated biometric architecture across South Africa's critical points of movement and commerce. You would expect a security apparatus holding the biological markers of millions to be impenetrable, yet the Department of Home Affairs openly admits its own cybersecurity maturity is critically low, and they are operating without a disaster recovery strategy. The information regulator is tracking a 40% increase in data security breaches compared to last year, hitting 284 notifications every month. Compounding this, 87% of rejected biometric attempts across Southern Africa are driven by AI synthetic identity attacks. Despite building a system targeted by advanced impersonation tech, the legal framework to govern it barely exists. The National AI Policy Framework remains a draft document consisting entirely of high-level principles. The physical infrastructure is scanning faces today, but binding, sector-specific regulations to enforce the rules aren't expected to pass until at least 2027 or 2028. By collecting everyone's data, the state has built the nation's highest-value target for hackers, while completely omitting the legal safety net required to handle the inevitable fallout. South Africa knows exactly what happens, and the state is given unaccountable power to identify and monitor its population. The country has a very specific, lived experience with racialized tracking. That history is the exact reason Sections 10, 14, and 21 of the South African Constitution explicitly protect dignity, privacy, and freedom of movement, protections directly challenged by this biometric assembly. For corporate boards and business leaders, holding untested biometric data tied to these government systems is an immediate material compliance risk under the choice remains to either demand oversight now or accept a surveillance state built by a silent, unaccountable assembly.